Yeah, just another quick one here. Sveno and Mick here. Quick video. Real quick video. Now, I haven't got too many colour photos. Well, I've got no colour photos of my dad's truck. Now, this is one of Dad's. One of my mates sent us a message on Facebook the other day and said, Mick, a mate of his took this photo in thinks it was the late 70s, early 80s in Maleny. And I said, oh yeah. He said, do you know who owns this truck and machine? Well, I'm just got on my YouTube page, sorry, my Facebook page here now, so I've done a bit of a story on it. And this here is one of Dad's International C1800, obviously bonneted International, 84. Now C1800, and I think it's a 184, but they used to just refer to these trucks as 84s. Now, we had two of these. This is the one that was used, obviously, leased in the bush. That's not Dad's float. He had a drag trailer. Now, I got a feeling this was one that a few of the contractors used to use here in Maleny. And if I remember rightly, it had a heap of wheels across the back, but I could be wrong on that. But that wasn't my dad's float. He had a drag trailer, so this was obviously taken before he bought his new float. Now that looks like Arnold Flop Fless's D46U. I spent many hours sitting on that machine. Now I was absolutely rapping with my mate Darren Howard sent us this the other day. For the simple reason, I've got a few black and white photos of this particular truck, and I'm just going to quickly show you. GDHO, Alan Moffat, and where are we? Steve Johnson's Falcon, some big Sequoia, I think they are. And that's just a bit of history. I love history. Look at that for a spider. That's the biggest Huntsman spider ever recorded in Australia. Now just get a load of the size of that thing. Normal day in Australia. Alan Moffat, all-time legend, full-on legend. Oh yeah, there's my Brapple. Another one of my Brapple out riding on the weekend. Turbo Commodore with that BA Ford motor in it. Now, here we go. That's the same truck. A little bit of history here. I think it was that particular truck. That truck used to go to Brisbane with that trailer on it too. Pick up bricks. Mum and Dad had a business called Suncoast Transport too. They used to cart bricks from PGH at Strathpine up here onto the Sunshine Coast, North Coast Transport. But obviously that's not bricks. That's they tell me ginger or pineapple boxes. So a little single axle trailer there, and that is the truck that some 3 Vietnamese people turned across just down near the big gorilla on the Albury's Highway, which is near the Steve Irwin. They turned directly across in one of Dad's truck drivers, Terry Dunbar, deceased. They were heading north and Terry was heading south to get a load, and they turned directly across in front of that truck. The driver, the male, and Terry locked her all up and couldn't stop. They turned off into a shop or a roadside stall, and he killed the wife in the front passenger seat and the lady in the back left-hand side passenger. Both were killed. The driver survived. That bull bar sat in the shed for many years, all bent up. That was the only damage to that truck. Now, there's the back end of the other one. So it's another colour photo, and that's in 1970, because that's my sister Stacey. She was born in 1969. Yeah, so what do we got here? Just a quick, I just wanted to, I wrote a little story, read my post. Yes, Now here we go. Now this photo is Svenson logging, Maleny, late 60s to late 70s. The truck is International C1800, referred to as an 84. That's what Dad and his drivers used to refer to those as. Svenson Logging had 2 of these trucks. We bought a new drake trailer float, which drake trailers still make beautiful floats to this day, to shift our dozer and machines contractors in the area. The dozer on the back looks as though it's Arnold Flop Flesser, which Arnold, as I understand it, still alive. It's a Caterpillar D46U, I think. I spent plenty of hours on that. The Fless family are very well known for being a very good timber peoples on the Blackall Range. Now, the Flessers were unreal axemen. Just the whole family were timber and farmers, and they were pioneers of the area. There's a road out at Reeseville named Flesser Road after the family. For many years, Arnold contracted to my father snigging logs. The Ford Blitz at Ross and Sally Hopper's place, I seen it being used by Arnold on the job, plus his D4, plus Dad's D6. Arnold used the Jinker at Tesh Park. That's what they refer to as a small arch, or I refer to it as a Jinker, and it's towed behind the dozer. I've seen all of these men and machines working for many hours growing up in the 60s. Hang on, whoop. I've got a bit more here. Oh, what am I doing here? Growing up in the 60s onward, the late 70s. Arnold had a Ford V8 timber truck. There's very few photos of our family's history in logging in the 50s through to the early 70s, early to mid 70s there, which are, I find, not good, as these people that work very hard and in very dangerous conditions are now all but forgotten. There is actually a lack of the history of that particular time. The earlier stuff, yes, there's a lot more of, but not this. My recollection, this is all my recollection, I guess. I actually have a very good memory for this sort of stuff because I was very interested in it. And that's just a little slice of history, Svenson Logging and Arnold Flesser's dozer, the D4, the float, and the old International 84s, which are long gone and sold to Ian Grigger, and Ian Grigger's deceased. His son Bradley still is a timber getter and machine operator, and we used to race over at Kilcoy with his son Brendan. And I talked to Brendan. Brendan's a machine operator too. He was in the timber with his dad. I think he's gone out on his own now, but I'm not 100% sure. But good bloke, young fellow at the time, early 20s, but that's he'd be 40 now. But there's the old Linda. Like I said, we had 2 of them. The other one had a cab guard. They had same sort of fuel tanks, red chassis, not black. Had a bolster, timber bolster, which was on a quick hitch. You could slide back and forth and put pins in, quick hitch pins. Haven't seen that setup, hardly ever seen that setup. It was a great setup because you could slide the bolster forward a bit of the centre of the axle, but obviously you wouldn't have it back that way of the axle. But you could vary how you wanted to load, how much load you wanted to put on the drive wheels and how far you wanted to move it forward. And obviously the timber jinker pivoted off that there at the end so you could actually turn corners sharper. Because if you had it like this set up, you can't turn corners like a trailer, like a normal trailer. It cuts corners, doesn't follow around as well. This exaggerates and sort of pushes to the side. But all fuel tanks Dad got manufactured up. They were steel. There was an equalising tube from left to right. Sometimes they used to play with exiting the exhaust, so V8 petrols, 392 cubic inches. They used to exit the exhaust out the front and all into one big resonator and blower out to the left. They played with that. They played with going out the back, out here, heaps of different ways to get the best setup. Now this is in Maleny, and that to me looks like North Maleny Road before it was all heavily timbered. That I think appears to be our house back up along here. The Porter's there, that's down towards the golf course there, and that looks like that could be our house or Headings, but I think that's our house behind that pine tree. That house still exists. It's very old and that now, an old home. Mum sold it in the late 80s. And yeah, that's our timber trucks, one of our timber trucks. I just love this history. I look at that dozer at a fuel tank on the other side. There was a toolbox here on Arnold's dozer, still got the original Caterpillar air cleaner. By the looks of it, he just had 2 bars down on his little canopy. It's a McKee winch by the look of it. Just looking at it, not sure what number, but I'd say that's a McKee winch. I'm not quite sure what this is here. I was trying to work that out, but this is a very wet day in the 70s in Maleny. It used to be extremely wet, and this photo, I would suspect, it's hard to say when it was taken, but it was extremely wet here. To give you an idea, my parents were lucky they had a few businesses going, because Dad and his timber men, the men that he employed, Dad would drive the truck, sometimes his D6 8U, but I can still remember, we had a big shed out the back, and where Jim Cork, he'd do mechanicking for Dad whilst he wasn't driving. He spent a lot of time driving these trucks. Dad bought the D6 off Jim Cork, as I understand, but it was that wet. They spent a lot of time building stuff, like they built all their own cab guards, built their own bull bars, built their own fuel tanks. As I understand, they built those fuel tanks. They'd done a lot of their own work out with the engines, get them rebuilt. Same with the D6, all rebuilt. Teddy Wilkins done the beautiful job on the D6. He was another one of Trad's truck drivers. Ted's still around here, and he was actually giving us a short rundown on times, and he used to leave North Maleny in the truck. That truck, or the other one that was the same, I think the other one might have been a tad shorter in the wheelbase, but I'm not sure. Probably the other truck more so with Ted. This one probably done a bit more general. And he would leave here, he would go out through Conondale, out towards Kenworth, up Sunday Creek, up onto what they call Summer, or South Summer, and it's up in the hills, get a load, come back up the Teshes at Witter, drop that off. They had a big gantry up there. They'd pretty well take a lot of the loads off, because these trucks, they just single axle trucks, single axle trailers, so you're not talking massive loads of logs on these, you know, probably, I'm not sure what. He did say the super feet, but in cubic metres I'm not sure, but I would suspect that you would have been looking at around about maybe 8 to 10 cubes, but I'm not sure. But anyhow, this truck do 2 of those trips a day up to Tesh Brothers Sawmill, and then back to North Maleny, and that truck would chew 52 gallons of standard fuel. We had our own Bowser out at North Maleny, 52 gallons of standard fuel a day. So that's 2 loads, that's a long day. I actually thought that wasn't too bad. But if you multiply that out by now, 52 gallons of 4.564, I'll say 4.5, multiply that out, divide that into 52, multiply that out, 4.5 by 52, you got a lot of gallons of fuel, and you're talking big bucks today. Standard fuel, we had standard and super. Now I'm not sure if the standard was leaded, but the super definitely was. It was a beautiful coloured fuel. It was a really orangey, heading towards a blood orange sort of a colour. And our Bowser, the Bowsers in town used to pump up the fuel up into like a tank up top, which was clear glass, and it would have like 1 gallon, 2 gallons, 3 gallons, 4 gallons, 5 gallons, 6 gallons, or whatever. And then you would release that, and that would run down, gravity feed down into the fuel tank of the car. But we had our own Bowser out there, and yeah, it was all good. But this is a very long video, but that's a little short one on the history. And if anyone wants to see anything more on that, or wants a bit more information, just let us know. So this is Sveno Mick Just trying to piece together a little bit of history, but like I said, Dad's 84, buy two of them. The float was, I don't know who owned that float, we had our own float, Drake trailer, and that's Arnold Flop Flesser, that was his nickname, Flop. That's his D46U, and surprising the amount of timber they used to shift with a machine that small. Sveno, Mick, have a great afternoon. My car shouldn't be far off being fixed. Sveno, Mick, out.